Hi, this is Michelle Cook Hall, and I want to briefly share with you guys something that I believe would help you today. We're going to talk about God has a plan, and we're going to look at this from the story of Ruth. Now, we know every time we hear the story of Ruth, we always hear people talk about Naomi, and they talk about Ruth, and they talk about Ruth and Boaz. Well, we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to quickly and briefly talk about the relationship between Ruth and Naomi. Now, what to understand about Naomi? Naomi was a woman in this time that lost her husband. And not only did she lose her husband, but she lost both of her sons. But both of her sons were married to women, and these women were from a different culture. So Naomi knew that she had become a certain age, and she knew that she would marry again, and that she pretty much felt doomed about her life. She pretty much said that she felt as if God had turned his back on her because she had lost her husband, she had lost her sons, and she was no longer at an age where she can get married. But God had a plan for her. And we're going to talk about that plan in just a second as we look at the story of Naomi and Ruth. Naomi and Ruth. So when we left off, we know that Naomi has now lost her husband. Naomi has lost her two sons. And trust me, this was a horrible position to be in as an older woman during this particular time. So she kind of felt defeated. She really did. She felt defeated, and she was upset, but she wasn't selfish. She wasn't selfish to the point where she would hold on to these young women, to these two daughter-in-laws. She told them, look, you're young and you can marry again. I can't, I don't want to hold you up. I don't want to hold you back. I can't have any more sons for you. So I am releasing you to go back to your own hometown, your own land, your own gods, your own family, and leave me be as I go back to my own hometown as well. Well, of course, they pleaded with her, which let me know that she must have been a really good mother in law because they pleaded with her to stay with her. But one of them decided that she would go back. She left. Her name was Orpah. She went back to her home. But there was one left that pleaded with her to stay. And they kind of went back and forth. But the one that decided to stay with her is Ruth. Ruth let her know that not only will I go back with you, but your people will now be my people. Your God will now be my God. Like she gave up her identity to cling on to this woman. And the picture that I get from this is that Naomi saw the fact that she no longer had sons. She no longer had a husband, and she no longer was at the age where she can get a husband to care for her. But this is when you look to see that God has a plan. And it's crazy because being a person myself who has suffered loss, I've lost family members, and I understand that dark place that Naomi probably was in. This place of this was my family. This is how I have my own identity. It's through my family. And now I have no family. But God had a plan. See, it didn't stop there. Her life wasn't over there. Although she felt that way, she made it clear she felt that way. I have nothing else. As a matter of fact, when she went back to her hometown and they recognized her and they were saying, "Could this be Naomi?" She said, "No, call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter." She was bitter, she was sad. But the conclusion that I'm trying to get to was the one that stayed, which was Ruth. Ruth, not only did she take care of her, not only did she go and work in the fields to bring her food back, but she was an integral part in the coming of Jesus. She played a huge part in that. She played a huge part in giving Naomi a grandchild. So Naomi found life again. She found life again. She didn't have to care for herself. She didn't have to figure out, how am I going to eat? How am I going to be taken care of? God had a plan. This woman loved her like she was born from her. This woman cared for her as if she was born from her, as if she was a son. She cared for her. She loved her. And there was no blood connection between the two. But love was the connection, and God's divine intervention was the connection. So when you're going through something and you're not sure, trust the process, because God knows what He's doing. He's not leaving you alone. He is not leaving you alone, and you are not broken. God has a plan.
Faith versus fear. The battle is on.